Welcome to the Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Arwin, Righteous Force, Eli, 10th Man, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded, so welcome one and all.
Hello, hello, good afternoon.
Hey! Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
What day is it? Is it Monday? How come everyone's so chirpy?
No, it's Tuesday.
Wow, chirpy Tuesday. This is unusual.
Taco Tuesday.
Did you forget about yesterday, the great show? Or did my ball win act completely mesmerize you?
Aaron, I am incredibly fickle, and that was almost immediately forgotten about. Let's be honest. If you annoy me in the next 5 minutes, you'll just get shouted at like you would anyway. I'm very fickle.
No, I think yesterday was enough for now.
I take it my buttering of Arwin's ego has lasted a full 24 hours by that last statement.
Oh no, that one's gonna last for at least another 5 years.
Oh really? Well, okay. Check out yesterday's show if you want to hear me buttering. It was well worth it. I'm not going to take any word of that back. I meant every word of it. Arwin is ace. I will always stand by that. The demonstrable reasons for him being ace will be highlighted when they come out, because that's why he gets called ace. So why wouldn't I highlight them? You know, there's plenty of attributes of every single panel member that are ace, and when they come out really cleanly and concisely, it's worth highlighting, I feel. Anyway, let's do some housekeeping.
So you're going for the 10 years, are you?
No, I'm not trying to butter your ego. You know I think you're ace, Arwin. There's no
cool,
secret.
Cool. I do appreciate it. And I do my best to live up to that.
I mean, just
all I got.
I was going to add.
All I got.
Go on.
No, I was going to say one deck's here. We know he's ace.
So yeah,
thanks for that, mate.
There are plenty of things that Arwin needs to work on, right? For a start, he's very immature in his behaviour towards other panel members. There's plenty I can cram into a shit sandwich if I have to for Arwin. Hey, don't stop me, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying there are plenty of things that are negative about Arwin. It's just typically the reason I highlight the fact that he's ace is because most people focus on Arwin's negative aspects, which aren't major. Everybody's got little negative things that people don't like about them. Even if you like them, there are things you won't like about people that you like. And those are what get focused on. And there's a reason that I consider the panel the elite of Flat Earth. We are. And Arwin has a very specific part to play in that. And it's different, much more different than other roles that we have here. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure I could do just as well. That's a lie. But you know what I'm getting at. Arwin's got a very specific role that he plays, and he's adopted it of his own volition and became very good at doing what he does. And there was a couple of people who made a comment about it, actually, Arwin. And they were frustrated because they want to see the ballers doing your job. Yeah? Well, they do. You do a better job than it. For our purposes, that is. Not for them, because they want to see you rumpus the crap out of the losing point when it gets highlighted. And you're not... You know, you used to do that as well because you were so into the role. Now you'll do it to highlight the fact that it'll happen, and then we'll move past with the point once a little bit of rumpusing and you telling the audience that you're being funding muted and things, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I realized that the ballers would actually expect Baldwin to, well, just like anti-flat earthers, to never let go of one singular nitpicky unimportant point. And then just hold on to that until the conversation's breaking, right? Because that's what they end up doing a lot. Well, as Baldwin, I refuse to do that. Right. I'm not gonna make the conversation break. I might make your mind break, but not the conversation.
Well, Neil experienced it the other day in the chat of the second channel, Nathan Oakley, subscribed today. But in that channel, he had Phil Bell asking about, telling people how maps are spherical, and they're not. And, you know, in spite of both me and Neil pointing out how his error breaks down in terms of the use of maps and navigation on a flat plane, he would be insisting on us telling him what the maps are used for. Just some red herring that he got stuck on like a stuck record. Round and round and round he went, no concession ever, just constantly asking, well, what are the maps being used for? You're like, navigation. They're flat. That's all that matters. The argument point is about whether or not they're sphere-shaped. But they'll latch onto some red herring and get into parrot stuck record mode.
Yep, that's what they do most of the time.
That was Neil's cue. Where is Neil? Normally he's got everything to interrupt with, mentioning him and a specific conversation he had, and he's not here. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, and it's
Not since 2020.
Good answer.
It's geometric, but you can't see it, though.
Oh, here we go again.
Well, then it's not a physical hill in the way. Let's not just...
Well,
we're about
no,
to
it's
repeat
physically
the
in the
entirety
way
of
of-
yesterday's show, by the way, Arwin, if you carry on in this vein, just so you know.
I'll keep it short. It's physically in the way, but optically it isn't.
If it's physically
Wow.
in the way, it's both optically and physically in the way, regardless. Hills don't get optically out of the way.
If it's in the way and optically it's not, how do you know it's in the way?
Well,
You
you can
don't.
measure it.
You don't,
Not
it isn't,
using
you
No,
can't.
optics.
no, you can't. How do you measure it?
You made
With
it
a
to be
ruler.
greater than what it's meant to be.
With a ruler.
Let's move on. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Well, first of all, that question, when you say axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, a glober's immediately going to think of a globe spinning. But obviously, we're not, so it's not of a globe Earth spinning because we do not have Earth-based Coriolis.
I don't think we expect to see any rotation.
Keep
On the
pulling
Yes,
them
we
all out.
do. Yes, we do, Arwin.
Yeah, they
No,
claim
we are
15
told-
the
degrees.
universe is rotating, not the Earth.
Yeah, they claim Earth's turning 15 degrees an hour to cause the not actual deflection of the stars at a rate of that 15 degrees an hour. So, yeah, they do claim the Earth's turning. They claim the stars move as a result. They claim we're in a non-inertial turning reference frame, observing an inertial reference frame seem to drift as we turn beneath. It's called Coriolis effect. It's very much a globe claim.
Well, they're also
Oh,
claiming
well.
the molten iron core, which I think they're kind of in the process of altering. So maybe my concept of the universe actually spinning instead of the Earth might also be adopted on the long run.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, if you don't have R, you don't have that. So that dies right there, too.
Well, I think they're trying to test new P waves and S waves. I even saw some weirdo videos about that, but I trust it's going to result in an equal measure of failure.
According to John, you need a flat plane because it's an angle that bounces back.
The return angle signal, you can't get an angle unless it's a flat plane. There, P waves, S waves requires a flat plane to give them an assertion of a return angle.
Yeah, everything, once you destroy R, everything else dies. They're just there for like frosting on the cake. The cake is gone, so forget the frosting.
Any
But you
evidence?
can't destroy R. It's a letter of the alphabet.
No, Earth radius, specifically. Any evidence of Earth radius. That's the R value in the Earth curve mathematics.
It
If
only
they would
exists in
only
the
have
maths.
that,
That was the right answer. Let's hear that again. From
You
Jorge.
can calculate it.
Was it Jorge?
Yeah, it only exists in the maths.
Yeah, we're not standing on a sphere. Earth with a radius only exists in mathematics. Doesn't exist in physical reality. We're not on a sphere. There is no radius. You can't measure it. If you try to, you'll need a flat plane to do it. Any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
I was going to say you can calculate it, but
Negative.
with this one you can't calculate it.
But in physical
You need
reality,
to have a
there are
horizontal
no...
plane first.
Go on, Jorge.
You need to have a horizontal plane. Without the horizontal plane, you cannot have an elevation angle.
Yeah, exactly. You require a flat Earth to assert that you're on a sphere.
that's pretty
Oh yeah,
devastating.
the globe is flat. Measures to be flat.
To assert that you're on a globe requires you make flat Earth measurements. That's the facts of the matter.
That's right. I am your father. Search your math. You know it to be true.
Precisely. The flat Earth is the globe's father. You enter into a paradoxical worldview if you do not accept that the Earth is measured flat, because your globe Earth measurements have come from the flat Earth. That's how the Earth presents itself and how it must be measured. To assert you're on a sphere requires you measure the Earth as it lays out before you. That's flat. And then take those flat Earth angle measurements to produce a sphere model.
And why would they have to use something called the Haversine formula if it was already curved?
If the Earth is a sphere, why would it be necessary to convert to a sphere by way of the Haversine formula?
Transformative, I think John says, right?
And if you
Or
said
maybe
Santiago
because
is not to be
otherwise the flat
touched,
earthers listen.
then why would it be necessary to transfer him off the base? No, if you said Santiago is not to be touched, and your orders are always followed, then why would it be necessary to transfer Santiago off the base?
Hold on. That does not sound good with an English accent. Sorry.
What, you mean
I
the
thought that was very
Shatner
good.
effect?
Neil, you can't handle the accent.
It's the sentiment,
It's too,
not.
it's too proper.
It's not the accent. It's the sentiment.
Too proper.
If the Earth's a sphere, why is it needed to make conversions to spherical from flat when measured
that's
flat?
better.
It wouldn't be, is the answer. You wouldn't need to transfer Santiago off the base if your orders are always followed and he wasn't to be touched. That's a few good men for anybody who wasn't, watching movies in the 90s. when Tom Cruise
they would
was
have
young.
definitely got it with that accent. You wasted.
I thought Nathan was cruising along just fine.
Oh, good one.
These puns are Top Gun.
Oh my God, that's even better.
Very good.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure, like we're all breathing, without a container?
Impossible. That would be a danger zone.
Very good.
Wow.
Yeah,
We're still waiting for the answer from Mr. Faulkner, isn't it?
I'm just glad we're talking about housekeeping. We moved on to the weather because the days of thunder are coming.
What does Mr. Faulkner say? Remind us.
Is this going to be a mission
He didn't
impossible
have
to
the
get us back
answer.
on
We're still waiting
housekeeping?
for the answer.
Oh, that's a good one, Nathan. Mission
Hang on, that
Impossible.
was a good one, Nathan. But what did he say?
Seems getting back on housekeeping. I'm in the minority. Report
Oh, my
your
God.
positions.
Talk about going crazy with puns. I'm going to hold this show. I'm going to put pun right at the top of my ledger right here. Pun show. Nathan took over.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Nope, there's no way to test it. We're already in a container because we have gas pressure, and there's literally no physical way to ever be able to test that.
My favourite is when they show you a vacuum and then say, look, check it out. Within this vacuum, I can create a circumstance where you have gas pressure forming without a container. You go, so within this giant container, you can show gas pressure without a container? Well, that's a pretty cool magic trick. What about this giant container? Well, just ignore the container that it's in. It's gas pressure without a container. In a container.
Well, that was one of the stronger arguments there that we put to them. You need a container for gas pressure, but you also need a container to create a vacuum to take out all the gas. So where did they go from there?
Well,
They're supposed to have Earth.
I was going to say, I was going to reiterate your point. You can't have gas pressure without a container. That's correct. But you can't have a vacuum without a container either. So the assertion that the sky is a vacuum and that we have gas pressure without containment is absolutely absurd. The sky is not a vacuum. Outer space is a lie. It's the basis of the lie of heliocentrism. It's the propping up of the lie that the world model is your world with the lie of space. Outer space is fake. You can't have gas pressure without a container. We're breathing high pressure gas. There must be containment. Therefore, space is fake.
Well, when you show the picture,
Yeah, you'd need
of
two
the
containers.
when you show the picture of the blackness of their space, outer space, the way they say it, and then you got Earth with clouds on it, and no barrier, that's an impossibility, violation of natural law. I mean, how much more you want something in front of you for you to wake up that you've been lied to?
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is it?
The bending of space-time.
What's that?
Can't bend
Morning,
time.
fellas.
Hey, Chocolate.
Time's a concept. You
Bend
can't bend time. You can't dilate
I
it. You
could tell
can't
you
bend
that-
it. You can't travel through it.
Nathan, what time is it right now on your
Yeah,
watch or
correct.
clock?
There is no force of gravity at all, anyway.
Okay, so in the pre-show I mentioned that I've been tuning the memory in my computer. Now, 10th Man has taken upon itself to realise that despite my efforts of making this computer fast and good and all the rest of it, the clock's wrong. So, can't even get the clock right.
Well, I'm just saying, can you bend that clock so it can keep the right time? Is there a way to do
I'm gonna
that?
push it back 2 minutes, yes, because it's 2 minutes fast, it seems.
Oh,
But
you're
no,
going to do
that's
something.
just a
Okay.
that's just a notion of keeping track. It's not something I can travel through or dilate or bend. It's not a dimension either.
Well, see, this is the beauty of this argument. I love it when they say it, or we say it, and they say, "Yeah, what's wrong with that? The bending of space time." I go, "Well, can you demonstrate it for me?"
Yeah, but a clock is not time. It's just an instrument to measure time.
Well, time is measured based on the sun's movement and 24, 15 degrees per hour movements. That's how it's set to.
Yep.
So now, how do you manipulate that, let alone time, a convention? How do you bend it? How do you bend time?
Didn't I just cover this? You don't. Bending concepts. You can't bend love. You can't dilate freedom. These are concepts.
Only.
Well,
you
what
can
about
only-
what about
Did you guys forget that the next evolution of the balls in a shed? Balls on a sheet. There you go.
there was a song, "Love is in the Air." Is that true?
I guess.
Love is in the air?
I know air is in the air.
I
don't know.
think love is in our being. I mean, we can feel it on other people, but does that mean it's literally in the air? No. I think it falls in the emotional information category.
Are you reaching for a kumbaya moment? Yes. I love you guys.
Well, the cause of gravity in that paradigm isn't even curved space-time. It's density distribution. So even in that canard, they have to admit that it's all about density.
Uh-oh. It's been like a bad word lately.
Oh, Rog.
Yeah, which is fair, but it's kind of irrelevant because even if you accept that paradigm, you don't need a globe Earth for that paradigm, of curved space-time to be true. It works perfectly fine on a flat Earth, just like Newtonian gravity works perfectly fine on a flat Earth. Gravity, I mean, for them, they make it like a coup de grace, like it's all important to our globe, but it's really not. It works in both paradigms quite well.
Gravity, what's that?
Oh yeah, we just went through this, Chocolate. You're a latecomer. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
What's a hypothesis first?
The establishment
guys
of a
don't get
presumed
it.
cause of a natural phenomena you're trying to study in nature?
So you observe a phenomenon and then you form a hypothesis to see the cause and effect for it?
Well, formulating a hypothesis when you've got half of it, which is the phenomena, dependent variable, would be to assume a cause. That's an independent variable, which you'll then vary to see if it causes it. That's an experiment.
All right. So if the stars are moving and you see movement of the stars, that's your dependent variable, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is you form a hypothesis and you say, I think this is the cause of it. I'm going to go manipulate it. And that would be the independent variable?
Yeah.
And what would you manipulate if that was the case?
The thing that you think is going to cause the effect. Your not presupposed, your assumed cause of the effect. A in the hypothesis. If A, then B. So if this, which I think will cause the effect I'm studying, when varied, will cause the effect you're studying. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so I think Chocolate posted a video of a drone that lifted off and hovered in place. So it's off the Earth that's supposedly moving to cause what appears to be the stars moving, but the stars kept moving. What would that prove?
No. If you were to put it into a hypothesis.
Well, it's pretty enough simple test to see if the Earth is, in the hypothesis, the Earth is spinning, so that's what gives us stars that appear to move. Just get off the Earth and see if the stars appear to move.
That's spooky though, isn't it? Why would we have to get off the Earth to see if the stars move? Why don't we just see if the Earth moves?
Well,
let's try that.
Well, the hypothesis could be both. It could be that one or the other one. But how do you stop the Earth from moving to see if it's the Earth is causing the movement?
Well, whether the Earth is moving or not, it's not really a hypothesis type question, right? It's like a what is. Is it moving or not? It's not a cause and effect.
No, I see stars moving, and I'm a flat earther, and I got a glober next to me. He thinks it's the Earth spinning. Okay, and so then I say, all right, we see something. It's a dependent variable, falls exactly into that position of a phenomenon that we observe occurring naturally in nature. And my hypothesis is, I think that the stars are moving and the Earth is stationary. And yours is the Earth is moving, and that's why stars seem to move. So all I have to do is get off the Earth and hover, not being in the Earth that's spinning anymore, and see if the stars stop spinning.
Well, since other guy has the claim, I'll just let him work that out, because if I see the stars moving, I just look and say, hey, look, stars moving. What does that have to do with the ground that I'm on? Nothing. So if he's got a claim, he can go ahead and validate it all he wants. Thanks.
That was pretty good, Tom.
Now, hold on.
I mean, sorry, Chuck.
Didn't you guys heard? Didn't you guys heard you and your reference frames have been ruined?
Yeah, we heard that, but the point is I can make a positive claim and prove it. They can make a positive claim and can't prove it.
How are you going to qualify turning?
15 degrees an hour, east to west. What I'm observing as a natural phenomenon.
What's turning again?
Right. So
I'm saying the stars are moving 15 degrees an hour. They're saying the Earth is moving 15 degrees an hour. So they got the Earth to manipulate, and I've got to somehow get up in the air and destroy their claim that the Earth is spinning to cause that effect.
but for the Earth to turn, you need to be able to measure a radius
Correct.
to claim the 15 degrees an hour.
Correct. But that's the first argument in the pre-show and early on that destroys everything, and I'm with you. I stick to that. But if it ever got to this, this is good to know.
I think that concludes the housekeeping. I think we've done everything, right?
Yes, I think you did.
Cool.
Yeah, once you take a headshot on the globe Earth, it's dead. There's no R. It's over. Everything else they say, like John just said, it's over because you ain't got R. You need R to do all the stuff. So, Black Swan, go for that. Learn that argument real well, inside and out. I mean, imagine sitting next to someone, a normie, or someone like that who you can have a discussion with and say, look, I know it sounds crazy, but is it too much of me to ask to see the radius of the Earth so that I could believe it's a sphere with a radius of 3959? I mean, how did they get that? How come I never experienced curvature, whether I'm in an airplane at 35,000 feet or on the shoreline or on top of a mountain? I never see that. And according to the geometry of the globe, it's got to be at certain distances based on your height. So it's easy to check to see if we've been lied to or it actually exists. And I've done the checking and I can't find R. And then you're going to laugh at me?
Well, they just have to come up with a measurement that we can debunk that we haven't already, because obviously all of them are going to come from flat plane, aren't they?
Well, I'm just talking to a normie because most people are programmed. They're not students of the subject matter. They're not trolls who know how to do what Arwen does better than they do. Obfuscate, fallacious reasoning. We're not dealing mainly with those people on an everyday basis. I'm not. So for them, it's like pose a question, ask a question, be sincere, and say, I'll believe in the globe today if you can prove to me that at a 1 foot observer height, we can see the geometric horizon and where Earth curvature begins, where the bottom of boats and buildings disappear. That's the claim. Back the claim. Normie's got nothing because they just been told, they've been programmed to respond. Oh, you're one of those flat earthers. Well, that's great. Call me that after you back the claim. Can you back your claim? Now you got them on the spot because they don't know how to back that claim. They've just been spouting off what they've heard. Then one deck pulls out 200 euros and says, this is yours if you can show it to me.
One way of stopping having the argument. Are you there, One Deck? No, he's not. So One Deck explained that he was on holiday, and rather than going through the discussion of having a, semi-debate with a stranger about Earth being flat, he said, I'll tell you what, we'll have a 200 quid bet on it, and if you can come back with a viable reason for Earth being a sphere, then I'll give you 200 bucks. However, if I can debunk it, you give me 200. The conversation never progressed.
That would have to be psychologically damaging for a normal person to think that they can't prove something like that.
I think so. I mean,
John,
you base your life on knowing and not having to care about it, and then suddenly something that you didn't necessarily think you'd have to concern yourself with is something that you've based a whole worldview on but isn't right, and then you've got to concern yourself with it. And I think that's probably, you can go two ways with that as well. You can either go, well, who cares? What difference does it make? In other words, you haven't really assessed what's actually happened, the scale of the lie that you've just been told. Or, you find it deeply, deeply offensive to you personally. I'm talking both flat Earth anti-flat Earth scenarios, by the way.
Yeah, with the one with the why does it matter? Well, why would they lie to us if it didn't matter? That just doesn't make sense to say that it doesn't matter.
No, they say that because they don't have any strong arguments and they feel like if they enter the conversation with you, they're going to lose badly. So it's an easy out. I've heard that so many times now. I said, so lying doesn't matter? I do what you just said. I said, so lying doesn't matter? Then why do they lie? But John, you're one of very few people, if not the only one I know, that challenged professional anti-flat earthers and said you would concede everything and still win the argument. And you were also the only one that turned your kitchen floor, which was flat, into a sphere. Can you please go through the steps to which you took to make your kitchen a sphere and just break it down for us?
Well, the first step is you got to measure it flat and acquire an elevation angle to something on your ceiling, right? And it, you do the same thing with heliocentrism. I mean, it's pretty much just, they laid out the template. I just did it in my kitchen, and took the same assumptions. Then you got to have a known distance from the zenith of the point you measured to the point you measured from, and that'll then you just presuppose the arc of that angle is actually the shape of the floor you're standing on.
Not the same without the voices of the hippos or whatever they were. So back in the day, John did a little short video where he had a couple of puppets pointing out how you can derive an how would you phrase this? A globe Earth. How did you do it? Did you do it as a model, or did you just do it as a derivation of R? I forget. It's a while back.
I did it as a. I didn't never model it. No, I just used the math to formulate my kitchen as a sphere.
Right. So you can take the flat Earth,
Yeah.
as in scale down to your kitchen and make it spherical, with the same methodology they use to turn the flat Earth that we stand upon into a sphere.
Yeah, if you start on the floor, you measure the level first, establish the horizontal plane, and then you climb on top of a chair. Now you're going to measure that declination angle to the ground. Now that you have this straight line, you're going to draw a circle around yourself, and you have a radius. So there you go. You turn your kitchen floor into a sphere.
Yeah, and the radius of my kitchen.
Took the assumption, didn't we, that we used flat Earth angles to a luminary. In this case, it was John's kitchen light, but we took those flat Earth angles and did the same as what the ball earthers do, which is to reinterpret that angle as a function of distance and reinterpret it as a function of Earth curvature. So any angular change was literally an effect of Earth curvature as opposed to a function of distance.
Yeah, and then I took Proto-Thad's debunking of a flat Earth and applied it to my kitchen, and it worked just as solid in my kitchen, proving my kitchen couldn't be flat by his methodology.
You ever played that video to your kids?
Yeah, they think it's hilarious.
Presumably they're not getting the underlying point, they're just getting the funny puppets, right?
My 10-year-old looked at me side-eyed. He said, "I thought you said you didn't believe the Earth was flat." And I said, "I don't believe the Earth is flat." And I left it at that.
Fair enough.
Adam, you're still there? Hello, Adam.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, dudes. I'm just I'm delivery
problem.
driver today. So if you keep it, I don't know if you could hear there the sat nav talking over me. Like
No, you're
now.
fine. No, you're fine. Let me ask you a question about distance. So they pre-assume the distance, and that's how they do it. Can you elaborate what you mean by that?
No, they assume that an angular change, yeah, in terms of from a celestial object or anything, or in this case, the kitchen light, that angular change is not a function of distance from the GP of the luminary. It's solely a function of the curvature. So the distance is irrelevant. It's your orientation that's changing the angle to it, i.e. the Earth is curving. That's how they assume that. Now, if you apply that same theology that they used to build the ball to John's kitchen, you can demonstrate that John's kitchen is curved by mathematical manipulation and reinterpretation of what the angle means. Make sense?
Yeah, so basically the storyline for Eratosthenes is that he assumed the Earth to be a sphere, he measured the shadow of a stick, and since he assumed the Earth to be a sphere, it's because of the curvature, and he's but he's got an elevation angle which makes the Earth flat. So it's nonsense.
It is a special kind of madness that has gripped the world.
No, we said this in the pre-show before you got here, John. It's more that they know what people are going to ask questions about, and if you can provide them with the answers at a very early age, they won't be asking those questions going forward, will they? What's the point in asking them?
Well, even like astronomers, like I would hate to think that all astronomers are liars, but they've been fooled by the same tricks that fooled children, and it's just they've never questioned it.
Well, when you're sold this paradigm and you live within the model and it's constantly barraged through Hollywood and everything else, then fields that deal with Earth and all that, all those science departments at university and all, they can make all of it work in the math, in the calculations. It doesn't make it real. And they believe it because they got the math to back it up. Except when you ask for R at 1 foot high, when it should be 1.2 miles, and it's not. Then it falls apart.
Yeah, my kitchen's geometric horizon is way more valid than the Earth. So.
Well, okay, this is a good segue to your second point.
You have to believe the premise. You have to believe the premise in the first instance. It's like if you tell someone you have $1 million in your bank account, you can do all kinds of math to support that. But if they don't believe it, then the math isn't going to convince them it's true.
Yeah. So, John, your second point was you took on anti-flat earthers and said, I will concede to everything you've got. Why'd you do that, and why were you so confident?
Well, before you can assert it's a sphere or presuppose it's a sphere, you have to measure it flat. Everybody does that. It's as fundamental to the globe as it is to flat earthers.
So how did you see the argument going in your mind before the actual argument when you set it up that way? Because you're the one who set it up.
Yeah,
go ahead.
What John's just said there, Nathan's passed us in the week to get that Australian thing with the Canary Wharf measurement replication of that upper Rooney. And you see in her reaction there, reality dawn, and the implications and the embarrassment of the implications as she realizes as a clever mathematician that you are obtaining this from a flat baseline, which is fundamentally against the whole premises of what you're doing. Just to give that, I've not watched the video, Nate, but that you've made, but that to me is a point that's worth reiterating, because it's absolutely the whole point and how devastating it is. And to watch that mathematician see it realise, I thought that's a really good thing, and underpins how devastating an argument that is. Even if it does seem, oh wow, it's always, it doesn't matter, but it's mathematically it's devastating as an argument.
Don't you have a short, Nathan, you can play for us?
I don't really know what video he's referencing, so
The one that I sent you the link to, where the two people are showing Al Biruni measuring the mountain on the sketchboard.
oh, you mean my video with
God.
The one with the
stupidly
nice
long
lady.
title? That's the video you mean, isn't it? The one about Red Rhetoric and Bob, the science guy. Is that what you're talking about? Yes, Nathan.
Yeah, well, that one in with the mathematician doing the calculations to figure out R, and using Al Biruni's method, where she, like I said, realizes the mathematical contradiction she's making in doing it.
Right. Okay, I'll dig that out. Yeah, it was only recently published, so it shouldn't be too difficult to find. Just give me a couple of seconds.
Yeah, that was really good, Adam, because I picked on that. She was blushing almost, right?
Well, that's the point of concession. That's the point that you don't argue past. It's over. They're conceding. Why would you argue further?
Yeah, agreed. Well, I beg the question.
Well, they kind of mutter it, don't they?
Yeah, it's kind of like the hee don't pay attention to this part.
And he says, yes, we'll have to concede it. And then he immediately says, oh, but I retract that. As in, I retract the notion that it's flat. And you're like, well, yeah, you might want to say that you're retracting that, but now you're measuring an angle. So it's not like you're going to get away with it. It is flat. You're measuring it flat. That's how it's done.
If he truly conceded that it wasn't flat, he would not have continued to measure the angle, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, if he was like, no, I'm not going to accept that we're going to be measuring this flat. It's like, well, find a method that you measure it spherical then, because that's what you're doing.
He might not want to ask Zanuck. Zanuck will tell him, hey, I use the flat plane first. Thanks, Zanuck.
Yeah,
They all do.
you know.
Yeah, that's John's point. Whether you want to push the globe or you say Earth's a irregular plane, yeah, all the measurements are elevation angle measurements. You need a baseline.
I'm just going to assume the Earth is spherical. So say you've got a mountain here. So this is what you want, right? You want the radius of the Earth there. Okay. We're close enough to the shot that the Earth could be flat.
Gotcha. Like the Nathan Oakleys of the world, they agree that mountains exist, correct?
That was the question that faced Al Biruni, who was an Arab scientist charged with finding the radius of the Earth.
I'm just going to assume the Earth is spherical. So say you've got a mountain here. So this is what you want, right? You want the radius of the Earth there. Okay. We're close enough to the shard that the Earth could be flat.
We're close enough to the shard that the Earth could be flat. That was her statement. In other words, we're going to say that because we're near to it, we'll measure it flat. Why? You're getting a radius value for a spherical surface. Don't do anything flat. Do it from the sphere that you're obviously standing on, because that's what you're claiming you measure. Oh, no, you didn't, did you? You didn't claim you were measuring it. Let's just see what she did do.
I'm just going to assume the Earth is spherical. So say
We'll just assume the Earth's spherical, draw out a big circle and say we'll get an R value, and then we'll start measuring a flat plane to get it. That's what she does.
you've got a mountain here. So this is what you want, right? You want the radius of the Earth there. Okay. We're close enough to the shard that the Earth could be flat.
Because that's how we'll have to measure it, because we're doing this with angles. So it has to be flat. Not that you're close enough to do it flat. It is. There you go. Played.
Devastating.
There's also quite an amusing bit right at the end. I'll just play the last couple of seconds just because it's quite amusing.
It's observably flat and motionless. So just to be clear, Nathan Oakley does or does not believe in mountains?
Yeah, just to clear it up, yeah, it's not a belief. Mountains are real. They're measured flat. Al Biruni got your R value from measuring it flat. The height thereof, as demonstrated by this lady here, when she assumes Earth's a sphere and then proceeds to measure it flat.
How would
Say
you
you've got a
ever
mountain here.
measure?
Go on.
How would you?
Go on, John. Go.
How would you ever measure the height of something relative to something else without a flat plane to measure it from?
You can't.
I don't even. Right.
It's impossible.
You don't. That's not what they do either. They measure it flat. They build on it flat. They navigate it flat. Earth is flat.
Well, that's what I said to the guy in chat yesterday, too. I don't want to hear about it. I want you to do celestial navigation from your sphere. Don't take me to the center of the earth. Do it from your sphere.
Well, that's an impossibility because the zenith of the object, say the sun in this case, that's 90 degree, and the zenith of the observer, 3,000 miles, is a 90 degree, because you end up minusing or subtracting, should I say, the angle, elevation angle measurement from 90. So the whole point is that's zenith position is coming directly. It's like a plumb bob. You're right there on the Earth. And it's referenced to a horizontal to even have that. So that radius distance in the circle of equal altitude is a straight line of 3,000 miles. There's no diverging zenith, as Brian pointed out. It's impossible. But on the globe, you would have to have diverging zeniths all meeting at the center of the supposed sphere that these people are assuming. And yet, even in their illustrations, the angle is measured from the equatorial plane, the center of a presupposed globe, because they cut it in half and make a disk. And so you have your 90 right there.
I don't want that. I want it from the surface of the earth, their earth, not ours, their spherical earth.
They can't, Neil. The books all
It's
come
the
from the
same
equatorial
difference.
plane. Sorry, Chaco.
It's the same difference. That it's like abracadabra. I say equatorial plane. That actually means the surface.
That's right.
That's what the hell they're talking about.
No. Sorry.
Yes.
No,
Brian here.
Neil, you're missing it.
Hold on, it's Brian
Yes.
here. You can go through how they utilise Polaris in that regard if he is. No, he's not. Carry on.
No, I think Neil's missing it because Chocolate's saying it here is
No, I'm
their
not missing it.
measurements. No, listen, please. Their measurements in the almanac are all originating from the equatorial plane, which is at the center of the Earth. It's never coming from the surface. So when you say do it from the surface, they don't even do that.
That's my point. They can't. So I don't want to hear their nonsense. I know exactly what's going on.
Well, then you just point out that their measurements is coming from a flat plane, and that's what's going on.
On the surface.
Yeah. On the
Yeah,
surface.
I say that because it's an impossibility. They can't do it from their curved surface. I don't want to hear all their other nonsense. I don't want to be cutting the earth in half. No.
Well, the cutting in half thing is actually more of a reference back to the celestial sphere model, isn't it? So two flat planes with the sky view represented as a dome sandwiched on top of each other. It's just two flat planes sandwiched on top of each other. Antipodal flat
Why are
planes.
they always, hold on, why are they always using flat?
Because you've got to.
From a sphere.
That's how it is. You can't do it any other way.
Oh dear.
Listen, man, you work with what you got, right? If you got a flat plane that you're gonna measure from, that's what you work with. Because if you had a sphere, you just have a sphere, and we wouldn't have to talk about the flat plane and the non-sphere. So
There we go, back to Santiago.
As time progresses,
It's
more and more
Santiago.
things that we discuss, or have discussed as time went by, will be shown to directly relate to the flat plane that we're actually working with, because it can't not be. Now, I knew this a couple of years ago, but it's interesting when someone like Red Rhetoric suddenly gets put under my nose, not because I watch Red Rhetoric, but because, in this case, Paul, the guy who bought the computer, sent it to me. He's like, check this out with Bev Try Thinking, talking about mountains with Red Rhetoric. So you have a little listen and you go, oh, how ironic. Memory serves me correctly. Where it was left off between Reds and myself was me asking him where he got the R value from. And now he's asking if Nathan believes in mountains. What, the one that you got your R value from? See, everything always will link back to a flat plane, Red Rhetoric. So you asking whether or not I
Right.
believe in mountains to hold up some shitty straw man about Earth being completely flat like a pancake? Yeah, that's not going to serve you very well when Alberuni's using mountains measured flat to get the R value you didn't answer me about last time we had an interaction, Reds. You haven't got an R value. It's what you assumed last time we talked. Now we're pointing out that it's not just that you assume it off the bat. When you claim to measure it, you're using a flat plane to measure it. Is it just me, or has it all gone very silent?
No, it did go silent until you just
I
spoke.
lost you for a while.
And
I
my
thought it
thing
was
cut
me.
off for a little bit.
No,
Okay.
you went away and it was silent until you just talked.
Oh, I
think
thought it was
I
me.
think I was
Just
on
losing
mute when I was
internet.
supposed to. I thought I was talking then, but obviously nothing was coming through. I looked up and I was still on mute.
Nathan, why would anyone accuse you, who believes the Earth is an irregular plane with valleys, mountains, lakes, sea, the whole thing, of not believing in mountains? Why would that even come up?
I guess some crappy straw man about Earth being completely flat, as in like flat as a two-dimensional drawing is flat, when obviously we've got topology, but some crappy straw man that read rhetoric doesn't change the irony, which is what I was talking about 30 seconds ago, but I'll repeat myself because I was on mute. The irony that last time Red Rhetoric and I interacted with each other, I was asking him where he got his R value from, because it was just begged. It was assumed. It wasn't something that they were declaring their measurement for. Now we're pointing out that where there is a claim of a measurement of an R value, it's come from a flat plane. The only actual measurement being done is done on a flat plane. Oh, the irony.
Yeah, I think he missed out on a lot.
It always comes back to flat, right?
He's just holding up some crappy straw man that he wants to ask Bev about. It's like, well, you can ask me. I've got an open show. You can just come and ask me. And there's a link to all available daily if you want to ask about whether or not I believe in mountains. Of course, it would be far more interesting when I asked you about the mountain Alberuni measured flat for your R value. See if you've got any alternatives that come from spherical measurements. There aren't. I'll just pre-advise you of the situation before you even think about asking me about whether or not mountains are real, whether or not I believe in them. Yeah, I believe you've got a mountain measured by Alberuni, and it was measured flat in order for you to claim you've got an R value measurement. Maybe you'd like to address that, Reds. Doors open daily.
Hold on. You said you have an open door.
Nah.
Right? And the answer I've been getting from people in chat is, oh, we've already been there and we annihilated Nathan within 30 seconds and we constantly get muted. So it's the same thing over and over again.
Sorry, hold on. They said they annihilated me with questions and then mentioned being muted. Didn't they go through the questions that they annihilated me with, as opposed to saying that they've got questions, then talking about a format? If you rumpus a rebuttal, you'll get shut down pretty quickly in here. Yeah, that's right. This happens to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a flat earther or a glober. If you talk shit, expect pain. However, if Red Rhetoric wants to specifically ask others that aren't me about me, when there's an open door, that shows deep cowardice. I don't give a crap about Reds. I'm not asking random people about what Reds thinks. I know what he thinks. I've interacted with him. He didn't have an R value last time we interacted. And he hasn't got one now, but he's asking other people about what I think about my belief for mountains. You've got your R value from Alberuni measuring a mountain off a flat plane. Now, Bev was too stupid to understand this argument, which is why he said it was a nonsensical statement. He just didn't understand the argument. AKA thick as shit. So just because Bev doesn't understand that Alberuni measured the mountain off a flat plane to get the height to give you your R value, violating his first measurement. Now, I understand that argument. Bev didn't. He thought it was nonsensical. Just stupid. You hear me, Bev, you thicko? You don't understand these arguments. You're just not as advanced as we are. You understood that I said it was measured flat, and that's about all you could remember, because you didn't actually look into the argument. Therefore, you look like a complete prick in front of Red's rhetoric, talking about me, because Red's too big a coward to come and ask me himself, because he's got a fascination with me, so much so that he wants to ask third parties about me. Me, on the other hand, I don't give a crap about Reds. I think he's thick. Like, really stupid. That's all I think about him. I don't concern myself with what he thinks, to the point where I'll ask Bev about him. But he will, when I've got an open door. Right, coward? You could just come and ask me. However, you know the outcome. Right, you'll get muted. No, you'll come with your 30 questions to annihilate me, won't you? Which one is it? Pathetic excuse or 30 really good questions you've got to annihilate me with? Yeah, we all know the answer, don't we?
Yeah, Red's rhetoric. John, Refracted Curvature was asking a question the other day about who's the one that was saying, well, we got to figure out what we're on first. That was Charles, by the way.
He means I've got to figure out a way of begging the question Earth's a sphere before we move forward. It doesn't mean we're going to work it out.
Right.
Work it out, what, measure it? No, you'll be doing that flat.
That was Charles, though, the supposed school teacher, is he?
Yes, Charles, flat Earth math.
No, that's apropos to the concept of measuring a flat angle, right? Because so when he went on to McToon's and he explained to McToon how you would get an angle from a curved line by setting up 2 points and creating a straight line, not a curved line, getting an angle from that straight line. McToon proved he was right in the end by demonstrating how it was done. The thing about McToon's example is that McToon presented a known curved line. The evidence of it being curved was self-evident because you could see it in its totality. They don't have that with their alleged presumed globe. They just assume it so. They haven't proved it's a curved line by showing you it's a curved line in the first instance, which we talked about the other day, where they have a first cause or a proto-fallacy, where their beginning is flawed. It's all a big circle of assumptions that supposedly support each other, but it's just a web of basically logical fallacies.
Right. That was exactly where I left off with Red's last time we interacted. Or to be more accurate, he interacted with me. I reacted to his interest in me. Like his current interest in me prevailing.
Well, that's the beautiful part of the sextant argument that we use when you're not using the sea horizon with the Mariner sextant. You're using a bubble sextant or an artificial horizon in a pan filled with mercury. And what you're doing is you're assuming a horizontal at your eye line to get the 90 and to get your angle. So now the omission is in the whole thing that if you need to use a bubble sextant and you have a fictitious horizontal, and if the Mariner at sea did the same time standing next to the guy with the bubble sextant on the seashore, but he's doing it with the sea horizon, he'd have the same exact angle and everything, and an almanac will match, which means the sea is as flat as that horizontal that they use at their eye line, straight all the way to the GP, the star or sun. It's the biggest omission there is.
Absolutely. With that, before bidding you all farewell, I'm going to give a little public service announcement to Red's Rhetoric. If you want to know how I feel about mountains, the door's open. You can just come and ask. But with that, I'll say a first and foremost huge, massive, enormous thank you to both G+ and Gilded for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Obviously, a massive thank you to all of you liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and tuning in live. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!